Hello, folks, in Logistics 229 Transportation. This is Professor Yancey. I'm going to attempt to make a recording to get us caught up. So when we meet next week, when it's everybody else's week 3, we'll also be on our schedule in module 3, week 3. So let's take a look at what's going on in our classroom. On modules, it's telling us what is due for each week. So this first week, I made all the dates due for our first meeting on the 30th. So I want to bring to your attention, you have the textbook. And in the textbook, we've got access to a printable PDF file, which is here. And I brought that into our class, so you would have a way to get to it. But if you download that and keep it on like your desktop, then you won't have to come out to the course to read ahead and know what's happening in the class. And so this has this transportation portion, and it also has the 8 common chapters that we want to be going through today. Let's see if we look at the learning blocks, and then the common, I think, are after the learning blocks. There's 8, 9, 10, and then it's got a summary and some practice questions. So these practice questions that are asked at the end of each chapter, the ones that you're turning in, there's actually an answer key in here that has all the correct responses that you can check yourself, double check it. And it also has a glossary, so you want to know what's going on with that. So we're going to go out to SC Pro, and the link to it is supplychaincenter.org. We'll bring you out to it. And the common learning blocks, we're going to take a look at basically the overview of them, and because you'll have to come out here and go through this to get credit for it, to get to the quiz. So we just want to take a quick look at what the subject matter is for each of them. So we have supply chain strategy, and this talks about what Walmart is the major expert here. They were asked when the European countries are coming together to fall under one currency and one supply chain. They asked Walmart to come over and say, where would you put your warehouses? Where would you put your distribution centers? Where would you put your retail sites? And so Walmart did all of the design that's currently working in Europe. So they're given the attaboy for knowing how to set it up. And this talks about in a global economy, there's intense competition among industries. And we're finding that most of those are dominated by the Asian market, namely China. And there's growing companies that are capturing more international market share using different strategies. So anytime they can use technology, it's an asset to that company. And with all of the different means and modes of transportation, the supply chain can be offshored and sent out to third-party providers to maybe give it to us at a better price, higher quality. Definitely the labor market is a lot less expensive in other nations. Rapid increase of technology and products with shorter product life cycles. So they're making these new phones, new computers on a regular basis that almost double the capacity for technology. And so it's a fast-moving, fast-paced area that supply chain's a part of. So it talks a little bit about from 2000 to present. For some of you, that was maybe even the year you were born. But I can still remember 1999, December 31st, where I was, because there was this serious fear that when the year 2000 rolled over, all the computers would default back to the date that they were programmed, like 1984, 1986. And all the data and all the systems that were built on top of that platform would be lost. So banks and all the stock exchange and all these different types of technologies that handle information and money were at risk. And I was in a warehouse for Kroger, and it came and went, and there was nothing that changed on anything. It's been the biggest farce in some time. That was a lot of stuff was sold to try to guard against losing all your data and everything. So since that time, there's been more advanced designs and better technology to be able to track and document, scan, and deliver stuff within the supply chain. So talks about the loop here that goes within supply chain. And we can start somewhere over here with sales and work our way through engineering when they say, hey, this is what we need made. And then production to make like a prototype of something. They're going to go through and figure out what they need to make it. And then the purchase or procurement of the assets needed to make the manufacturing of that product. Then we keep an inventory once the product is completed. Production again is moving through to make any kind of increase or improvements to it. Counting where it's going to be as far as the cost analysis, and then the human factor, human resources of the folks that are working in those warehouses and in those production facilities. And then it goes into transportation logistics for delivery to the buyer. And this ERP means that each one of these different links in that supply chain can communicate with each other, and they can forecast, and they can give some type of a indication of when a different product is moving through that link and how many of them there are and what kind of commitment each one of those different steps would have in it. So we're to the questions, and like I say, the answers to these questions are at the end of your printed textbook. So you can go out and visit that, and we won't have to go through each one of these quizzes while we're trying to get this briefing. So let's go to, let's see if I can get us back here. Let's go to our course home. And we're going to go to the second block in the common learning. That one was supply chain. This one is going to be demand planning. And so basically, there was different evolutions of how sales and how customers interacted. When if we go back to Henry Ford, he made stuff as cheaply as possible, as most efficiently as possible. And he made a truck, and it was black. It was one color. And so then when he went to the Model A, that was the Model T, he made a car, and it was black, and it used the same components as the truck did. Instead of a truck bed, it had a second seat. And so when they were going through the production, it was just whatever they could make is what they sold. And they did sell quite a few of those, all of them that they could ever make. But we've got a little bit more sophisticated with technology and the way to feed back information. Now we find that the customer creates a demand. And so like for a new phone, if there's better photography wanted to be available on it, if there's more memory that the customers want, that's what dictates the demand for this new phone. And so we just have to be aware that that's driven normally by the customer. So this gives an overview of what they're going to look at for like a commercial baker here says it sells and bakes cookies and breads. A company forecasts or predicts. how many cakes and cookies the customers might purchase by size and type. So knowing your clientele, you can kind of stay on budget and on track for what you need there. And we're back to the questions about the demand. The one thing about demand is it is ever changing, and if something in its life cycle, product life cycle, drops off, the demand drops off, then companies usually move away from it. And from the marketing gurus, we learned that the longest American-made product that is still currently in its productive life cycle, are blue jeans. And so whenever they're really selling in the US, there's been a new style. They make bell bottoms or peg legs or fashion pockets or button down or zippers or whatever. There's a fad here, but most other countries, Western and Eastern countries, think of blue jeans as American. And so that's their link to style or to what we try to do. And so even if things aren't selling at a peak here, that product still sells in other countries and it's maintaining its high demand. So let's go back and see where we are on block 3. Okay, common block number 3 is about supply management and procurement. So this is adding procurement into it, and it talks here, it says it defines the role of procurement organization, describes the process of converting purchase requisitions into purchase orders. Procurement is also responsible for researching and approving suppliers as qualified bidders to provide materials and products used in manufacturing and for resale to customers. So they're the people who maintain relationships with these producers and make sure that when they go into an environment where they have to manufacture, that all of the raw materials are available when they need them and where they need them. Of course, we do have a procurement course that will be made available to if you want to take that, and it has a certification in it. So this has got, it's dependent on demand. So if we order something, there's usually somebody we're going to try to sell that to, or be it's a component of something that somebody is going to buy from us. And so it is still customer driven, just like demand is customer driven. Talks about personnel working in procurement, where you can think of buying, or you can think of purchasing, receive the requirements on a purchase requisition. So we're going to send them an electronic paper that tells how many of something that we need and how much it should cost for each unit and where we want it delivered. So when they're looking for this, they solicit bids from suppliers, and they find out what is the ballpark here, what's the middle. And there is a price index that we hear about on the news now that basically tells nationwide, what the average is for every product that there's been a requisition for. So I can go out and look and see how much is glass in a 2 foot by 2 foot square selling for. And then it'll tell me exactly what it costs to produce it and what the average price is that they sell it. So there is a price for every product that's already out there that's being produced in this index. And we are to the practice questions. Again, those are at the end of this book, so you'll have the correct answers. We don't need to go through the 5 questions. We'll let you get that one knocked out. And so this is going to be the last one we could do in this recording, and that is in Common Learning Blocks number 4. Let's see what it's about. Warehouse operations. So if you took the Introduction to Logistics course, Logistics 127, you have already got a certification that gives you the depth and the knowledge that's about warehouse operations. And looking at entailed in our learning here today, it's talking about the warehouse personnel performing the receipt, storage, retrieval, and distribution of procured goods and materials. So they usually have warehouses somewhere near where a product's being produced, and then they have a warehouse somewhere near where a product is being consumed. And so they'll go through a geographical distance sometimes to get to those 2 points. And that's where logistics comes in. It says warehouses are not always standalone facilities. In some cases, storage of raw materials, work in progress, and finished goods use dedicated portions of a manufacturing facility to expedite movement of inventory through the warehouse. So there's 3 different types of inventory. I kind of just mentioned them there. You've got raw materials. That's before anything has happened to a piece of wood, a piece of metal, piece of plastic. And then you have works in progress. And so if they drilled a hole in a piece of wood or a piece of plastic, if they painted it, if they used it in any way to become something else, then it's a work in progress. And normally it stays that way until it is packaged and ready for sale. So if you got a warehouse or you got a manufacturing site that's making bookshelves, and they have all the boards cut, they have all the holes in it, they have screws ready to put it together, think of like one of these IKEAs or something. And so that might be their cheapest model. It doesn't have any stain or paint or assembly. It's just all the components you need to put it together. And then they'll have like a B line, and it'll have more refinished like paint on it or stain. So it have a better like luxury look to it when it's put together. And then they may have a C line, a third line that's running, where they actually put the bookcase together, and then they either paint it or stain it, and it gets shipped completely assembled. So that last option is going to cost more to store, cost more to ship, cost more because you had man hours devoted into assembling it, painting it, staining it, sanding it. So it talks about warehouses can be designed to function as distribution centers. So you got a warehouse, normally that's for long-term storage, a year or more. And then you got distribution centers. These have a shorter storage period. And it's usually like if I got, let's use turkeys, for an example. I have 10,000 turkeys that are coming in from Purdue Farms. I put them in my warehouse in the refrigerated section. And so now I'm going to ship that out to a distribution center that's going to be in the middle of the area that we're trying to service. And when it gets to distribution center, the trucks that are going to take it on to like a Kroger or food store will pick up the rest of the dinner. There'll be stuffing and cranberries and vegetables and rolls. All of that stuff will be added to this distribution center so that when they send out a load that has, say, 25 turkeys instead of 2,000, and it has 100 pounds of potatoes, it'll have smaller level of merchandise to just meet the need for that or demand for that local retail side. Okay. And then we got the practice test questions for block number 4. And again, the answers to these are in the printed book that you have access to. Okay. So we're going to go back to course home, and these common learning blocks were the 4 that we've got done. And I'm going to pause the recording to stop it, so you guys will have smaller bites. When I send up another recording, it's going to start at common learning block 5 and go through 8. So have a nice evening. Do these exercises so you have the answers to the questions at the end of each one of these common learning blocks. And that's worth 40 points to you. So enjoy.